Thwip, Reject Nation. We got some Spider-Man stuff to react to today. There's gonna be 2 videos going up. So this video, we wanted to do a dedicated one to the bridge fight, the most teased action sequence of all time. This damn bridge fight. main promotion.
Green Goblin together at last.
It's mainly just Spidey versus Doc Ock. You got way too ahead of yourself there.
Toby's there. He's Andrew.
And the next video that's gonna go up today, there's a couple of, like 3 new TV spots and then another clip called Peter Ruins, I think is what it's called. But first, let's kick it off today with this one. Only just a few more days, people.
Hello, Peter.
Hi? Do I know you?
What have you done with my machine?
Your machine. I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know. What machine?
Do you want to play games?
Catch! Don't worry, ma'am! I'm coming!
Whoa.
Whoa!
Cool. Whoa!
Get it, Peter.
Yeah! Come on, Peter!
Ah!
That was great.
Yeah.
I really feel like John Watts is stepping up his direction this time around. You know, like the first Spider-Man Homecoming, it wasn't, it was like more simple in the way it was shot. The action was very memorable, but I think with the characters he's inheriting, especially from the Raimi films in particular, like I see a lot of conversation that arises from a lot of people kind of actually prefer the swinging from the Amazing Spider-Man. Then when it comes to the direction of action scenes, of camera placement, movement, perspective, a lot goes to Sam Raimi. And I think with all the characters he's getting here, especially if you're gonna bring Doc Ock back and have Spider-Man versus Doc Ock, with this train sequence fight, that whole scene starting from the building going to the train, you're gonna want to really amp up your direction level. So it all seems really present here. I feel like he's probably very conscientious about that going to this one, if you're gonna call this one your Spider-Man Endgame film. With this fight in particular, with Doc Ock throwing a car. I was just talking to John about this the other day. Because you have that shot here is like, he's throwing a lot at him here. A big famous moment from Spider-Man 2 is when Tobey is sitting across from Kirsten Dunst and they're about to kiss again. And then the spider sense is activated as a car goes through into the coffee shop. It's this great, visually beautiful, tense sequence. And I love the way that whole thing is captured. But it really hit me on a rewatch. We're going on a little side tangent here. James Franco sent Doc Ock after him because he's like, if you want to find Spider-Man, go through Peter Parker. Doc Ock has no idea that that is Spider-Man. He thinks he's just trying to get Peter Parker. He doesn't know he's Spider-Man. He doesn't.
So why would he throw a car at him?
So if he threw a car at him and if he killed him and just splat, and it's like, I went a little too far.
I really thought he would get the heads up.
I thought he was just trying to send a message.
Yeah.
Went a little too far. Accidentally killed a bunch of people in that coffee shop.
Not to mention the property damage.
And also the fiance of that famous astronaut.
Got a
lot working against me right now. But anyway, yeah, visually, that's what I thought a lot of this was hearkening back to, you know, using a bunch of items around you to toss at your Spider-Man. And like, I love certain perspective shots here, like when he puts out his, to Thwip, camera mounted here as he's running, like a POV shot, or that shot with that woman in the car and then how it's like locked on the dashboard as it's falling over.
Yeah, you feel like you're in the car looking back at her almost. Yeah, I mean, this was really nice and punchy, and I mean, this feels like another scene that has been pared down, but conscientiously, because aside from the cut from the tentacle hitting the ground to hello, Peter, everything pretty much played smoothly. And yeah, it really struck me in that one big shot where, you know, Ock is tromping over the highway, throwing thing after thing at Peter, and it's all just like one big movement. You know, like that was an instance in which I was like, okay, like I can see partly how and why they're using the CG approach to this to enhance the intensity of the action with Doc Ock, because, you know, you're at Peter's ground level and you get a lot more mobility to kind of, keep it locked down there, but also, you know, relish in the cool, just sci-fi quality that action has. And yeah, it made me wonder, because I mean, she calls him Peter, it sounds like, as the car's falling over the side of the off-ramp there, and, you know, either the spell hasn't worked or this is like before the spell or something like that, but, you know, that was like a little context context clue that was interesting.
Well, in previous shots, he was standing with his suit on, and then he was looking at her through the car window before. Like in the other trailers, we've seen that. And a lot of people theorize about who she might be. Is it Miles' mom? That's what a lot of people are saying. I think what we know is that's not Miles' mom. I don't remember if they actually came out and said who she was, but it could just be another character who just happens to know, or perhaps the spell didn't indeed work, but she is calling out to him. And in fact, it kind of reminds me of the Amazing Spider-Man scene, a scene that I think a lot of people really love. There's a person hanging off a car, a little boy, and that's when he like gets on top, takes off his mask. He's like, you wear the mask, you be Spider-Man, you're gonna be fine.
You should be brave for me.
Actually, I'd say that whole sequence from Amazing Spider-Man when he's first chasing down Lizard on the freeway, catching the cars, is reminiscent. And Amazing Spider-Man also had all those POV shots of him using the web shooters too, which you see in this one sequence here. So you got these like little connections. Of course, you have Dr. Octopus showing up saying, "Where's my machine?" plucked right out of the events of Spider-Man 2. He's talking about his fusion reactor, looking for that right away. In case you guys didn't know what machine he could possibly be alluding to, it's only that one that he's talking about. And I think at one point too, we heard Dr. Octopus's theme.
Yeah, a little bit of that motif in the very beginning.
Yeah, it's beautiful to hear again.
Man. Well, and that's the other thing that's going to be really exciting is you've got to imagine that every villain's theme will be worked in. And I mean, we can surmise that the spider themes will work their way in. The villain themes have to work their way in. And there's some really great, work across those old movies, especially the Sam Raimi movies. Danny Elfman's scores are pretty great.
Another thing that makes me really think back to a little bit more towards the Raimi films or the films of prior. I'm so used to like these comic book movies having a lot of heavy CGI fights. And so as well, you're getting a good amount of CGI here with the way Doc Ock's moving and such. It looks great, but I love when it blends it with practicality. Like I really feel like these cars are on set, or especially when they do lunge the car, a CG car when they're doing those shots, but then it goes into those off-ramp
water barrels.
Like, you really feel the impact of it.
That looks like physical effects.
Yeah,
and there's something about this whole fight and just even being on the freeway with just parked cars around, and they shoot a lot of that stuff low until it makes a lot of sense to cut to an aerial. So it really feels like they're grounding that fight. And especially with those like little POV shots thrown in, it makes you feel like it's a little more intense and a little more like ground level visceral.
Absolutely. This is cool. It's cool. It's only going to be longer and better.
This has to be expanded in the actual movie.
And I love the stakes too of him trying to rescue someone as well. Again, back to Spider-Man 2, where he's fighting Doc Ock and having to rescue people. While he's throwing them around and stuff. But it reminds you of like, yes, you have your big villains to deal with, but he's also trying to be a hero.
Well, and I think that for Spider-Man is especially, and that's something that oftentimes in superhero movies can get overlooked in a way where I'm like, oh man, I wish they had them like actually interacting with or saving just people. But I feel like especially for Spider-Man, that's a really important element too. So I love that, this is being grounded. And even with that clip on the opening scene, he's got to be like, oh wait, I got to go, secure MJ.
Yeah.
So it has that, also just,
the quality of saving
somebody's life stakes.
All right, guys. Well, what did you think about this clip? Leave your thoughts down below. Can't wait. Subscribe, hit that notification bell, hit that like button. Catch you guys soon.